Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use colored acrylics and create an ombre or a colored gradient effect. And I'm also going to show you how to do my unicorn cloud method, plus the addition of some Cocoa and Claire chromes. So if this is something you're interested in, keep watching. As always, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for me. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Okay guys, so for this design you are going to need several different colored acrylics. I actually found these ones in the back of my drawer. I am assuming that I picked them up on one of my travels. I usually go to suppliers anytime I'm out of town. I always hit up a supplier. I am fairly certain that these ones were in Dallas, Texas when I was there, and the brand is called Nail Supply Glamour. So I've just got an orange, a yellow, and a green. Now they are not neons. We're not going for the bright like highlighter colors here. We're going for a little bit more of the muted sort of vibrant colors, I would say, in between sort of a pastel and a neon. So I've got orange, green, yellow, and then I just got some custom mixed ones. You guys know I have hundreds and hundreds of these custom mixed little jars. Again, I've got a pink now, a purple, and a blue. Again, they're not neon. They are not the highlighter colors. They're sort of a bit more muted, but still vibrant. So you'll need something in that palette. And then we are also going to need a milky white. Now I'm going to link below my unicorn cloud video. That's where I describe in a little bit more detail why I'm using 4 parts clear to 1 part white. But this is just a custom mix that I have made myself. And then you are going to need a clear acrylic as well. I'm currently switching into the Young Nails. I'm going to be trying a few more at some point as well, because I have not made a final decision as to what my new core line will be. And then you are going to need some fun stuff as well. So you're going to need some little flakes. Now these are not the type of flakes that we see that kind of float around. They're super light and airy. These have a little bit more texture to them, as you can see here, if it'll focus. There we go. So these are from JOHENS. I swear, you guys, I never pronounce it correctly. I pronounce it different every time. But these are from the Angel series glitter called Angel Flakes AF1. So these are actually on the Pink Chairs website. I will link those below. And then you're going to need also the flakes that I was just talking about, those very light and airy ones. Now I just have a ton and a ton from Born Pretty, so I've just pulled those out. But as you can see, they are very light and airy. They kind of float around in the air. So I've just got these ones here. Any of those flakes will work. It doesn't even matter what kind of color shift they are. I swear they will all work. And then we are also going to need a unicorn chrome, and I recently did a video with the Cocoa and Claire collection, and I'm going to be using the one called Eternity. And that kit actually comes with a little silicone tool to apply the product, so I'm going to be using their little silicone tool as well. And I also am going to be using a little finger condom, but if you were working on a client, you would just use your gloved hand if you use gloves, and this is what I'm going to use to burnish in the product. I also will link below my swatching video for the Cocoa and Claire, so you can see the other 2 colors that come in the kit as well, and just some tips and tricks that I share in that video for applying chromes. And then of course your top coat of choice. I am still really loving the Young Nails stain resistant top coat. Now you are also going to need a chrome top coat. So a tack-free top coat to apply the Cocoa and Claire. So the one that I'm currently using is no longer in production. I still have a bottle of it in my drawer, so I'm using it till it's gone. But I know that, like I mentioned in my swatch video, that there are lots of them out there. And the one that I find that is most popular is the Accents Shine On. But as I mentioned in that video as well, I'm going to be trying out a Kiara Sky one once I get it in stock. So whatever top coat that you guys use to do your chrome, you will also need that. And that is it for product, guys, so hang in there, we're gonna get started. So the first 3 nails are going to be the ombre nails, or sometimes I call them color blend nails, where we are blending 2 colors and fading them together. You can do more than 2 colors. So we are very used to seeing acrylic ombres done in a vertical direction, where we put the color on the tip and then we blend it up towards the cuticle area, and then we apply the next color at the cuticle area and we blend it down, creating that ombre. That's how we do faded French, baby boomer, etc. So I'm going to actually do it in a horizontal direction. So I'm going to apply 1 color on the left and 1 color on the right. Now, the first thing that you want to do is obviously apply a very thin layer of clear first to all of your nails. I'm not going to do it for the purpose of this video because I'm not working on a client. But when we are working on a client, we want to always apply a thin layer of clear acrylic just to create a barrier between the natural nail and the color, so that when we go to do a fill and we have to take that color off, we are not filing into the natural nail. So just a very thin layer will do. Now we're going to go in with the first color. So we're going to start with blue and purple. And basically what you want to do is just start in little beads, and we want to apply the color, and it's going to be slightly wet. So again, like I've mentioned in other videos, you want to be very careful when working on a client with wet acrylic that you are not getting it all over the client's skin. And we are just going to keep applying little beads on that left side of the nail and fading it and blending it over slightly into the center and just slightly over the center of the nail. All right, so as you can see, I've gone slightly over the center. Now we've got just a very thin layer of the blue. It is not thick at all. I've always mentioned in videos before as well that when you are working with colored acrylics and you're layering them, you always want to work in very, very thin layers so that the nail does not get bulky. So now ideally you want to let this dry a little bit. So I'm going to just let this dry for a minute. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but you just want to kind of just let it dry slightly. So I'm just kind of patting it around, making sure that it's all fairly even. And that is dry enough. So it's not like dripping, it's starting to set. So now I'm going to go into the purple color and I'm going to repeat the process on the right side. Now what I'm going to do is actually double dip. So I'm going to go into the blue and I'm going to go into the purple. So I've got a little bit on kind of both sides. I'm going to make sure that my brush is tipped in the way or set down the way that the color. So I don't want to flip the colors this way and put the purple on the left and the blue on the right. I want to make sure that the blue is on the left and the purple is on the right. I'm just going to re-grab my beads because those ones were starting to cure. And again, we're not using a huge amount. We've got a tiny little amount on our brush. It's best to work small and keep adding than work with a huge big one and then you end up making a mess. And we're just kind of blending that color in the center and just sort of pulling it down. And I'm going to do it again. Grab those two. Again, make sure I flip my brush in the correct direction and just kind of blend those two in the center of the nail. And you'll see that you will get a really nice color blend ombre. So there you go. And then of course what we want to do next is cap with clear. Now you could add a little bit of shimmer, you could add a little bit of glitter, and as we know, if you find a little trick for you guys, if you find that you're just not happy with the way that it blended, that it's just not looking blended enough, you're just not happy with it, everyone in the industry knows if you don't like the way something looks, add some glitter on it and it will cover any imperfections, it will hide any imperfections. So you could use a very fine shimmer top coat, you could add a little bit of glitter right now, even to the center of the nail, and that would hide that. But I'm going to leave it like this because I'm actually going to, the accent nails are going to be the last two nails and I really want those ones to stand out. So this nail and the second and the third nail are just going to stay as an ombre. All right, so now we are going to move into the next nail, which is the pink and orange ombre. We are going to do the exact same steps that we just did with the blue and purple. You're going to want to make sure you have that thin layer of clear as a base, and then we're going to start blending our colors. So I'm going to do the pink on the left side and the orange on the right side. Now this is a great method to use when you have colors that don't blend very well. So if you notice, I'll show you when I pick up my second bead of this pink. I have talked about in another video of mine in regards to mixing pigments and things like that. So if you notice, when I place this bead of acrylic down, the white separates from the pink. So I will link a video below that kind of shows you and tells you guys how to use pigments, use different shimmers and things like that just to help with that issue. But this here, the way that we are pulling the color really helps when you have acrylics that do that. It really helps to just blend that color. So this is a perfect method and a perfect design to use those kind of irritating acrylic colors that don't blend very well. So again, we are just kind of adding little tiny beads, layering that color up till we get the opacity that we like, slightly feathering it a little bit past the center. All right, now I'm going to go in with the orange color on the right side. Alright guys, so now I'm going to do the double dipping. I'm going to dip into the pink and into the orange, and we are going to do that blending again, making sure that I've got the correct color on the correct side and just kind of blending those two colors in the center, creating that really nice ombre. Now this orange one, again, I don't even remember if I've ever used this one. I've probably had it forever. It's not as opaque as the other ones that I have custom mixed. So I am having to add, you know, a few extra little layers just to make sure that opacity is where I'd like it to be. But again, you don't want it to get overly thick, so make sure that you are using products that do have, you know, good pigmentation to them so you don't have to add so many layers. It's not getting thick at all. I mean, if you look, it's not getting really thick at all. It's not going to alter the, you know, make the nail super chunky or anything on the client. But there is a little area in the center here that I'm not quite happy with the opacity, so I am going to do the double dip again and just kind of add a little bit more to the center and blend those two together, feathering up, feathering down. And there we go. So that is the pink and orange one. And the last ombre we are going to work on is the yellow and green. So again, exactly the same method, guys. Applying, starting on the left, then going to the right, and then double dipping and adding and blending in the center. Alright guys, so you just want to play around and keep adding product until you are happy with the opacity, until you are happy with the blending. And once you are happy with the way that your colors have all turned out, then you would go back and cap and clear. So one thing that I wanted to quickly mention was that in my custom mixes, my purple had a little bit of shimmer. It has a little bit of shimmer in it, and so does my pink. So when I did the green and yellow, there was absolutely no shimmer in either of them. So what I'm actually going to do is take one of the shimmers that I would normally use to add to my colors. This one is actually just, again, one that is no longer in production, but any type of a pearl, shimmer, something like this, I'm going to just dip my brush into a little bit of my clear. And I'm just going to wet, I'm going to do the purple, or the green side, excuse me. I'm just going to wet my green, and I'm just going to very small amount, get a very small amount. You can barely see it on my brush. And I'm just going to add that over the green, just so that they all match. So I guess that's one thing to mention when you are picking your colors, is make sure that if you have three colors that have, you know, if you have some that have shimmer, make sure that you have an equal amount. So I've got now three colors that have the shimmer, the purple, the pink, and the green, and then three that don't. And again, like I said, you can add shimmer over the entire nail if you want, but that'll just make sure everything kind of blends and goes really well together. So for the next two nails, we are going to be doing the same kind of method that I did in my unicorn clouds design. I will link that below if you haven't watched that video. Please go check it out. So again, you want to start off with a thin layer of a clear as a base, and then we're going to go into this milky white. Now this milky white, like I mentioned, is a very transparent white, and you want to work with a very thin, wet layer. It's important that this layer stays wet because we are going to be applying the colors into this layer, and we want them to blend rather than marbling. We want them to really blend and kind of blend together, and ombre in areas and be transparent in some areas. So again, keep this layer very thin and wet, and as always, make sure that it is not dripping and running all over your client's skin. So now we're going to start dipping into the colors, and we are going to start applying the colors into that wet milky white. So in the unicorn clouds video, the design that I did was very soft. And in this design, we want to kind of build these colors up a little bit more so that we have them be a little bit more vibrant, just so that they match with the ombre nails, because those ombre nails are on the more vibrant side. They're not really pastel-y, whereas the unicorn cloud nails that I did were very pastel-y, very soft. So just keep applying your color until you get the brightness or the opacity or the vibrancy that you like, and keep kind of blending the colors here and there. If you need to go back in, you can add a little bit of white to kind of blend those colors. But for now, I'm just going to keep applying little layers until I get that opacity and that brightness that I like. So what you can do is you can actually grab one of your nails and you can kind of compare them and see, you know, how they will sort of go together. Will they match? Will it be vibrant enough? I think that we're doing pretty good on this one here. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, and it won't be exactly the same because of that addition of those layers of the milky white. But I am going to add just a little bit more of the purple into the center here, a little bit more of that pink here, and a little bit of blue just down here. So next, what you want to do while this is wet is we are going to take some of those JOHENS flakes and we are going to pat them in just in a few various little areas. Not too much, we just want a few. Make sure you pat them in very well. And then we're also going to go into those flakes from Born Pretty, or whichever ones that you have on hand. And again, pat them into various areas. We're not covering the entire nail, we're just adding those here and there. So now you want to make sure that this layer is fairly dry enough that if you add another layer of color, it is not going to move around. So I think that this is dry enough that I can apply my second layer. So my second layer of milky white is going to go on next. And this is again going to be a very thin layer, very, very thin. When I say thin, I'm talking about not even a millimeter. We are just basically covering and making a little bit of a milkiness over those bits of shards and flakes, because we are then going to add a second layer of the shards and flakes, and then we are going to cap and clear. So this is where you want to make sure that you keep your layers very, very thin, because nobody wants chiclets on their fingers. Okay, so once you see that everything is kind of milked out, what you're going to do is then go back into your shards, and we're going to place them again. Try to place them in a bit of different areas than you placed them the first time. Just not completely overlapping exactly where you put them the first time. And again, go back in with the flakes as well. And what it does when you do the milky white over the first layer of the shards, it just adds a little bit of dimension. And you'll see, you know, when you watch the unicorn cloud video, it probably goes into it a little bit more detail, but you'll even see when we do the chrome, the Cocoa and Claire chrome over this, how there's just levels of just different shift in that glitter. And I hope that I'm focused. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. Now we are going to cap in clear. And the last nail, we are going to repeat the exact same steps as we just did with the unicorn one, with the pink, the purple, and the blue. And we are going to start with a thin layer of clear and then start applying your colors. So again, we are going to start with the layer of the milky white, very wet layer of milky white, applying our colors, applying our glitters, then applying another layer of the milky white, then the glitters again, and then the clear. All right, so everything so far has just been capped and clear. I'm now going to go and file and shape and buff and get ready for the chrome. Okay guys, so we are now ready for the application of the chrome and the top coat. So one thing I will mention is when I'm doing any kind of a chrome, I actually do not buff those nails. So I have buffed these ones, but I will not buff these ones. And I find that when I buff the nails before applying the chromes, I do find that they tend to chip more often. So I think that without buffing them, you are leaving a little bit more grooves on the nail so that the top coat just has something better to grip onto. To apply the chrome, it's probably going to be a little more difficult to apply it on this little stand because I have a feeling this tip is going to pop off when I start applying the pressure to rub in the chrome, but we're going to do it anyways. So I've got my little silicone tool from Coco and Claire, and as I mentioned, I'm using the one from Coco and Claire called Eternity. So I'm going to start rubbing it in with the silicone tool and basically just applying the product. And as I mentioned earlier, I use a finger condom to go in and actually final burnish all of the chrome in, just to really get it rubbed in there very, very well. But I do use the little silicone tool to apply it and just kind of get it all over the nail. And then you're going to go in with your little finger condom, or if you have a glove, just use your glove that you've been using on the client and really burnish it in. Just rub, 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 rub. Now again, I have a few tips and tricks when using chrome in my in my Coco and Claire swatch video, so go check that out for some tips and tricks. But one thing that I will mention is make sure that you kind of put your finger angled, not down, so that you don't scratch that product with your own fingernail. So I've got that one chromed, and I'm going to go and move on to the purple and the blue one. So both chromes have been applied, and it's a little hard to see in the video, but you can definitely see the little bits of layers of the flakes kind of shining through, which is really the cool effect. So I'm going to start applying my top coat to all of the nails. Now I would definitely do 2 coats of top coat over the chromes. I always do 2 coats over any chromes that I am doing, and that just ensures that you've got that extra layer of protection to prevent any chipping or issues like that. Alright guys, there's another little tutorial for you. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for watching. If you know anyone else who would like this, please share it with them. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe for me. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And as always guys, have an amazing day.